And those of us in Congress who are fighting this fight need your support by the millions. The president has got to know, the super committee has got to know that we will not allow them to destroy a program that has worked so well. Now, some people say, well, you know, this is just, they're talking about something called the chained CPI. Nobody in the world knows what this means or how they came up with this name, but I'll tell you what it means. What the so-called chained CPI that they want to bring forth is based on the proposition that the COLAs, cost of living adjustments, that seniors and disabled vets get today is too generous. It's too high. It's too extravagant. In the last 2 years, seniors and disabled vets have not received 1 penny in COLAs. And these guys think in Washington that it's too generous. This is what it would do. If you are a senior today, 65, and this were passed tomorrow, when you are 75, you would lose about $560 a year from what you otherwise would have gotten. And when you're 85, when you can't work, when you need medical help, when you're 85, you will lose about $1,000 a year. Imagine somebody living on $15,000, $16,000 a year, Social Security, losing $1,000 a year. That is immoral, that's wrong, and we are not going to allow that to happen. But it's not just Social Security they're after. Republicans for years have tried to destroy Medicare, tried to voucherize Medicare, tried to cut Medicare, and I'm sorry to have to tell you this. Doesn't give me any joy. Too many Democrats are saying the same damn things. Again, I have to tell you this because it's important that you know it. President and others are talking about the possibility of raising the eligibility age for Medicare from 65 to 67. Now, I want you to think about it for a minute. Just think about it for a second. You are 66 years of age. You're an average working person. You don't have a whole lot of money. Maybe you're getting ill. Maybe you have cancer. Maybe you have emphysema. What are you going to do at 66 when you don't have Medicare? Are you going to go to some private insurance company and say, give me an affordable program? I've got cancer and I don't have a whole lot of money. That ain't going to happen. Medicare is a right and it's got to be defended. In addition to that, in terms of Medicaid, Medicaid provides a substantial amount of the coverage that our parents get when they're in a nursing home. Medicaid is all about the Children's Health Insurance Program, providing health care for millions of our kids. Today in America, 50 million Americans have no health insurance. And there are those who want to cut back on Medicaid, throw kids off of health insurance, working families off health insurance. It ain't going to happen, and together we're not going to allow it to happen. So we've got a lot of work in front of us in defending the gains that we have made over the last 80-year period, but defensive politics is not good enough. We need an offensive strategy. We've got to create the jobs that our people need. And we've got to do it for 2 reasons. Most importantly, this country does not survive without a middle class. This middle class does not survive unless people have not only jobs, but jobs that pay them a living wage. So what are we going to do about that? Well, let me come up with a few ideas that we've been working on, and I've been working with the Steelworkers, our other great unions, on this. Number one, I used to be the mayor, as Leo told you, of the largest city in Vermont. I know a little bit about infrastructure. Infrastructure are roads, bridges, tunnels, culverts, schools, railroads, bridges. That's what infrastructure is. And what I can tell you right now, and you know it, in my state and in most of your states, the infrastructure in this country is falling apart. The American Society of Civil Engineers tells us that we need to spend $2.2 trillion over the next 5 years to rebuild our infrastructure, to improve efficiency in America. $2.2 trillion. And when you make that investment in roads, in bridges, in tunnels, in schools, in railroads, in subways, you know what you're doing over a period of time? You're putting millions of people back to work, rebuilding this country, making us more productive. That is what we've got to do. Let me tell you an anecdote. A very good friend of mine was in China last year. Goes to China, gets on a very efficient railroad, goes hundreds and hundreds of miles into China. Railroad's working fine. His cell phone is working great all over Mongolia. His broadband working great. Leaves China in one of the most beautiful, state-of-the-art airports that he's ever seen in his life. Flies into JFK in New York City. His plane is delayed because the airlines aren't working very well. Can't find a seat to sit on because the terminal is overcrowded. And he comes back and he says, which country is the third world country? Today, in terms of infrastructure, we invest 2.4% of GDP. Europe invests twice that amount. China invests almost 4 times that amount. On rail alone, the Chinese invested $186 billion from 2006 through 2009. Within 2 years, they will open 42 new high-speed rail lines. That's China. In my view, if we are going to be competitive with China and every other country, we have got to invest in infrastructure, we've got to invest in broadband, cell phone service, and when we do that, we rebuild our economy. But that's number one. Number two, how do we create more jobs? How do we make our country stronger? Every single year, we are spending about $350 billion importing oil from Saudi Arabia and other foreign countries. $350 billion. I was in Saudi Arabia a number of years ago. Let me tell you, the royal family of Saudi Arabia is doing just fine. They don't need any more money for us. It is time for us to develop our own energy sources. And when we move to energy efficiency, when we move to sustainable energy, and I know the steelworkers are doing a great job on this, we are not only becoming energy independent, we're not only cutting pollution, fighting greenhouse gas emissions of global warming, what we are also doing is creating millions more jobs. So transforming our energy system is something we've got to do. Third point that I want to make, and I got to tell you, this is a funny issue, because on this issue, working families understand the truth, whether they're Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, independents, or progressives, and yet that message has not gotten through to Washington, D.C. And that is that our current trade policy of NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China has failed. It's failed. In the last 10 years alone, this country, if you can believe it, has lost 50,000 factories. 50,000 factories. You go into a store, go into Walmart's, you cannot buy a product made in the United States of America. The time is now to tell corporate America that when they create jobs, we want them here in the United States, not China, not Vietnam. That we are sick and tired of competing against people who make pennies an hour. We want them to reinvest in this country. And on this struggle, let me tell you something. This is a tough one. You got people like Jeffrey Immelt, the CEO of General Electric, a number of years ago, he gave a speech, the head of one of the largest corporations in America. And he tells his investors, this is what he's saying, I quote, "When I am talking to GE managers, I talk China, 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 China. You need to be there." Well, Mr. Immelt, let me tell you, you need to be here, not in China. We need to tell Thomas Donahue, the CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, that it is not acceptable for him to urge, literally urge, American companies to outsource jobs abroad. We need to tell President Obama and the U.S. Congress that we are not going to support more trade agreements based on the fallacious principle that unfettered free trade is good, that American workers should be forced to compete against desperate people in third world countries. Finally, we need and must strengthen the Buy American provisions in federal law. For example, and this is just one of the many outrages we see every day, and that is the state of California using American taxpayer dollars to buy Chinese steel spans for the new San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge project. Can you believe that? We are building bridges in America made in China. If that's not absurd, I don't know what absurd is. So let me conclude by just saying this. The agenda that the United Steelworkers of America is fighting for, that I and other progressive members in Congress are fighting for, is what the overwhelming majority of the American people believe in. We're not talking about some radical fringe ideas. When you say to people, should the wealthy be asked to pay their fair share in taxes, people say yes. When you ask people, should we cut back on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, people say no. When you ask people, should we create the millions of jobs the middle class needs, people say yes. So what we have got to do, as we have never done before, is take the slogan of this convention, standing up and fighting back. We've got to take it to our hearts. We've got to build the union movement. We've got to educate our friends and our neighbors. What we are fighting for, brothers and sisters, is not just our lives. Very honestly, we are fighting for our kids and our grandchildren. We are fighting to make sure that they're going to have decent health care, decent educational environment, be able to breathe the air, drink the water that they use. This is a fight for the future of this country. The ideas that we believe in are majority ideas, and our job now, as never before, is to educate and mobilize and make sure that the United States Congress, that state legislatures do what the American people want, what the American people want, and not just what the big money interests want. Thank you all very much for what you're doing, and we look forward to working with you.